Hello and welcome to Sim Strategy Gaming. I'm Sim. This episode will be about the second chapter of the campaign of Railway Empire 2. Looking at our mission objectives, we see that we are going to transport 60 passengers from London to Liverpool without changing trains and then connect 3 rural businesses to our network. We will achieve this by building circular economic zone from London, Cambridge, York, Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, Oxford will be quite lucrative, including all of these cities. And we will have to buy up a few concessions in the beginning in order to make this and to include all of the connection bonuses that are available. Very important to have these connection bonuses rolling in as fast as possible. So then we will start our trains in the actual connection bonuses to have them coming in soon. We will have one train starting here at Connor. You see this is nicely filling up now, going into Birmingham. Other lines will be started having one here in Dover as well, going back and forth on this track. Trains are a bit more expensive now that we are not playing as the professor and rather playing as the engineer. So we'll only have one on each set of tracks. But as the connection bonuses will be coming in, we will bump these lines up to include more trains. One here starting at Banks. One here starting at York. And one here starting in Birmingham, alternating going in each direction on the circular path. To make it even, I like to have an even set of trains. We will also start one in London, even though there aren't any connection bonuses there, so that there will be 4 lines all together. There will be no money for buying any warehouses or maintenance depots in the very beginning. Like here, it would be nice to have both a maintenance depot and a warehouse. This London station having 4 lanes coming in, both connecting to Dover and to the mid zone here, Midlands zone. And we can see if we set up the warehouse correctly so that Dover will have everything it needs. Dover producing beer and needing wheat, but it already has wheat, so we can include corn, lumber, meat, perhaps even exporting some of the beer from Dover, and then sugar and cloth. No need for milk or vegetables or fruit just yet. Looking at the flow of goods, we see that there is no demand for these resources quite yet. And that now with our new warehouse, we will have everything being supplied to Dover and also exported the beer. Not have access to lumber just yet, and corn also being left out. On this small little line here, going from Connor to Birmingham, there will be more than enough with one of the cheaper freight trains. And we will make sure that it is absolutely full before it leaves the station, having a minimum of 8 wagons, so it doesn't go back and forth being half full or empty, so that it doesn't cost us more than necessary to fill up Birmingham with the required livestock. Technology, haven't bought any technology yet, because it would be very nice to have this Rhine coming on, or the Rhine being much better trained than the Jenny Lynn, and only waiting a little bit, then we can improve our mixed trains, which we'll be using for the most part. A new train that is really good for us, that we really need, is much better than having this 5% extra, even though the hydraulic crane here that increases the revenue for mailbags is very nice for a price of only 100 innovation points. And so now, only a little bit 4 months later, almost, we have achieved our first set of mission objectives. Now ready to move on to the next. We have expanded our railway network with the connection bonuses and also pretty decent revenue coming in. Now having bumped this our rails up to having more trains. Pay heed to how many trains that are actually needed, so one doesn't put on too many trains in the beginning, seeing that they are pretty much filled up. Will be, I think, room for need for more trains, and absolutely room for more trains as well. If one is wondering how many trains should be on a track, one can at least take the duration in days and divide that by 3, and that will certainly be okay. If one have more trains than that, one have to pay heed to the waiting time here, and if the waiting time goes above 5%, that might not be very profitable, and one need to build more trains, more lines, more tracks instead, to make sure that there is room for the trains. Pointing out a few interesting solutions here. This Fitzpatrick solution, this livestock goes both into the butcheries at Liverpool and at Manchester as well. And one might think that is needed to have 2 separate lines, but then the train will be waiting for a long time because there won't be enough for it to do. So one can actually have just one train going back and forth here, going from London to Fitzpatrick, and then from Fitzpatrick to Manchester, and then back again. And this will suffice at this point, at least, as both Liverpool and Manchester aren't requiring more than 2.4 wagon loads a week in order to be satisfied. Later on, one might need to have a separate line both. So these are single lines with no signaling on them, so the train can go back and forth on the same line, but they're both being connected through this gridiron here, so that the train will be coming up here from Liverpool and then changing the tracks here in the gridiron and then going back to Manchester in the next turnaround. Added upon all of these extra little dedicated lines there, all being served by a Derwent train, one going from Jennings into London, one from Doyle here. It might also be good to have the milk coming straight into London, and we're going to prioritize London, but now we can have a station that has both the wool for Oxford and also the milk that is used by more and more of these cities as they grow. But Oxford is having a weavery, so then it will be needed to have the wool coming directly into it. And all of this being very cheap solutions. York here as well, a little extra freight line going back and forth, supplying it with wheat, and then as soon as the demand here is filled up and the breweries in York having enough, and the excess will go into the warehouse here. So then warehouses can be used both to move this resource down into York onto the main line, but also supplying York directly. Here with the livestock, there is no need to have a warehouse here in Birmingham. because livestock doesn't need to go into the line. It's much better to have these resources that are used only in factories directly into the factory itself. But if we now were to put up a warehouse here that included the livestock, then livestock would be from this common resource here would be going to both Liverpool and Manchester as well. But Liverpool and Manchester are already supplied by their own livestock resource, so perhaps better not to do that. And one can then have maintenance depot and also say a post office or a restaurant. I prefer the post offices often, but the restaurants are also very, very nice. Pay heed to this here that there is quite a bit of a way to go from Cambridge all the way to Birmingham with this long, elaborate circular zone. But still, one can see that we have passengers going to Birmingham from Cambridge and back again, as this line here, the circular path, even though it is a bit long, is still less than twice the air distance between Birmingham and Oxford, but just about. So placing these stations and then having a look at the flow of express goods is also one thing to be careful about. If I placed it a little bit differently, it might have been too long a distance, and then nobody would use the train going in here. They would rather use the road instead. And now, 6 months into the game, we have been able to we will be able to very soon complete our second set of mission objectives, delivering the 8 loads of any goods to London that will come on very easily. Lots of goods passing through there, London being part of both this little extension to Dover and also the big circular Midland zone. And then now also having built, in addition to this dedicated single lane freight line into Oxford, also having its own single line going here from Campbell through Doyle and directly into London, so that the sugar down here in Campbell will be going both to Oxford and going to London, and the milk also being nicely distributed. Then I would choose the better freight train, the G&M America, instead of the Derwent, even though the Derwent for most purposes are enough on these little freight lines. But then this freight line in particular is a bit more busy, and we can see now how it fills up with sugar almost to the top, and then some of the milk here as well, perhaps, even though there aren't that much demand for milk right away. We can see how the flow of goods is moving about. We have here the milk, cloth going to Dover, and sugar being distributed to a warehouse in London. Here it might seem that there are this crisscrossing tendency that one should be very careful about, but there isn't any demand on this line. There aren't any cities here. This is just for delivering goods, so that this will never be a problem. The sugar here is coming into London and being distributed like this, and then the sugar here is being distributed all over, and this will be good. There will be just two, like it would be two sugar resources on the same line. perhaps pointing out that we should wait as long as possible with buying up these private routes if there aren't any particular need to do it. We can't really buy it anyways, but buying up concessions in advance, like here, and buying up these private routes, this isn't anything that is particularly crucial. So focusing on building as much rails as possible, filling them up with enough trains. Having a look here, we had filled up with one extra. This might actually be a little too much. 2 trains might suffice, but then to have 3 trains to be certain that it will fill up 5 trains on both of these, all of these 4 lines that are using these 2 tracks here. So there are 10 trains on each of them. That seem to be pretty much what we are needed. Checking that there aren't any particular delays, 2% of a waiting time, then we still have more capacity to go on. Looking at how long this takes, we can at least have 10 trains without any problem. But we can also have a bit more. It doesn't only depend on the duration, it also depends on how many stations there are, because most of the clogging up with the trains will be at the stations, as it takes a bit of time to load and deliver, process these wagons. For our next set of mission objectives, we see that we are going to construct a restaurant and a market hall in Birmingham. I wouldn't really recommend having both of them. I really like to have a maintenance depot everywhere, so then I can put more trains on the lines and then make sure that there isn't any clogging up with maintenance on these few maintenance depots. But it's really easy to just go in here, and then I can delete the maintenance depot, putting up what is required by the mission. And then as soon as I have done this, I rather go back and delete them and have maintenance depot and my favorite, the post office, which is a little bit less expensive than the market, than the restaurant, but and also having a bigger bonus on the mail than the bonus on the passengers. And if we look at our budget, we see that we are making, well, okay, actually we're making a little bit less on mail than passengers, but as soon as we expand our empire, then mail will becoming more lucrative than passengers. But as it is small like this, then restaurants might be better. So might start out with a restaurant and then replace that by a post office later on. Other mission objectives: transport 80 passengers and mail bags from Birmingham will come on quite easily, and then to grow the northern England zone, most of which is being included in the Midland zone. But also then Carlisle, we can build something up here, picking up a few of these resources on the way, particularly the corn. It would be nice to have corn coming in from the north, not only having corn here down in southeast England. But still Liverpool and Manchester and York are all growing very nicely, coming along. And so now, as we have advanced almost a year of gameplay, we've been able to achieve the maneuvers set of mission objectives. Have our optional tasks here. We're going to focus extra on London, making sure that it has all the resources that it is needed to be growing into a really big 120,000 citizens city. but also making sure that there are general growth all over, as we're going to have achieve 100,000 citizens, 3 cities with 100,000 and more citizens on our rail network, and then our general company revenue. And by having these circular paths and such, I experienced that this brings in more money, even though it sometimes contradicts a little bit with the mission objectives. But making sure at least that we have growth all over the place. Next set of mission objectives, going to buy this small private route. We are now allowed to buy private routes, so buying up the Birmingham-Oxford Railway, even though we don't really need it. We can build nicely around this, but now it is a mission objective to be buying it up, and very soon we will have enough money to do just that. And as we do it, we can delete it. There isn't any particular point in keeping these weird little lines that our competitor or the private industry are building. I think humans build these rails much better. One more here, you can see. And then that gives us a lot of the money back. So we didn't spend more than 200,000 on this, but still it is a little bit expensive to buy it all up. Vegetables. There are vegetables down here in Cambridge, but the demand is growing now. So we can see that even we have 1.6 here, needed 2.7 here, and 0.4 here, 1.1. There are some excess being extra, and then York will be needing vegetables, not quite now. York is coming on a little slow, as it is hard to acquire this lumber and corn. Lumber being only accessible to us here at Turner between Oxford and Bristol, and the corn coming way down the south there. You can see how it is distributed through the flow of goods chart, and that we have some corn coming in here, added on corn brought here in Plymouth, but much better to have relying on the corn that is closest. Unfortunately, we cannot make any. We cannot buy the concession here in Wales yet. So, but growing in York will be of extra important to us, so we can make for a big enough city that it will require the vegetables that we are. That it will demand the vegetables that we are required to deliver in order to achieve our mission objectives. And by the time that York has grown big enough to demand vegetables, all of the other cities will also be demanding a lot more vegetables. So then it would be better, I think, to actually go all the way out here to Manor Isles and try to feed York from the northern vegetables, instead of relying solely on this, which haven't been growing yet, and buying it will be a bit expensive, I think. So then it's better to have just a few. Now, what is happening up here? Oh, see, I've forgotten to put up the signaling. That will always make for a mess, but as soon as I do this, then it disappears, and train traffic is moving on nicely. With the corn now, I try to put in. We have been having too little corn, so then now that I have expanded this Carlisle London path connecting Carlisle, then corn is coming in here, and corn is also coming in from this extra extension all the way to Plymouth. And then I put up all the warehouses there, but one can see that they are interflicting. And as soon as the demand here in Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool is starting to fill up, this might become a crisscrossing tendency, and then one will have warning triangles at the warehouses. And then we would have to turn that off later on as demand is being fulfilled, because we don't want this resource filling up here at Bristol at the same time as this resource is filling up, say, in Cambridge, because then it will be going back and forth through the same warehouse, and that will make for a crash. Generally going over and seeing how the flow of goods are. No, we don't need the chemical plants. See how this is distributing. Only having one lumber resource being unable to fulfill all the demand, then we're having too little capacity as well. Wheat being nicely filled up here. Have to be careful, as wheat is on both sides of these two systems. Have to pay heed to that. Meat, having a lot of meat here, but then still might actually go in here and turn that meat off, because I can see that now there's meat in both Bristol and on the Midland path, so that there might be coming crisscrossing tendencies. I haven't connected yet to this Farwell breeding, because our competitor is actually doing the job for us. And we can see that there's more than enough livestock in Bristol, and it wouldn't be any particular point in building a new line here. We would then compete with our competitor. That might be knocking him back a bit, but it isn't so important, I think, to be doing bad stuff to our competitor. It's much better to be doing good stuff on our competitor, rather than relying on him to do whatever he does. This line here, if I put up a train, would not be very profitable, and the train would be standing there waiting for a long time, and that would cost us not so much maintenance and fuel, but it would be costing us a lot of personnel that is just standing there and waiting, and they're going to get paid no matter if they're actually doing a job or not. Further on, we are going to achieve an express status between Liverpool and Carlisle here. Then we have to buy up this route, deleting all of that infrastructure and making for a longer line here going down to Liverpool, and then putting up an extra express train that goes back and forth. And as soon as we have achieved this, we will have a nice little, say, half moon up here. So then by March 46, 15 months of gameplay, we have been able to achieve the mission objectives that we set out to do, like this. The last load of vegetables are coming into York. York has grown quite a bit. Been able to expand this line that used to go from Carlisle to York, so that it now goes from also further on from Carlisle to Liverpool. And then we had put up a line that goes all the way here, that actually are achieving the express status, even though it goes around like this. And also be a good tip, in order to be absolutely certain, putting up a line like this, setting that for express, and then a maximum of only one wagon in each direction. This is the best way of achieving express statuses. Yes, this might actually be good. to buy up the lumber. We're really needing lumber. It's a little dumb that we can't really utilize it yet, but to have the lumber, we see that lumber is something that is in demand, and it's only produced here on the west coast. So yeah, bought this lumber because we were having too little. We can see now how this one single lumber is supplying all of our railway empire, but still it is hard for the trains to be taking it all the way. So then I expanded this into a 4-lane system in order to have enough capacity. Now as the cities are growing, they're demanding more and more goods, and they're also producing more and more express goods, so that we can see even now that we have more than doubled our capacity, still the trains are going red, and it would be hard to keep up with demand for transport. Also made for this extra inner circle here, because this region, Birmingham, Cambridge, Oxford, London, you can refer to that as the southern London inner zone, is becoming particularly high traffic. You can see how this Oxford here, wow, 104% fulfillment of demand, and London as well, having particularly focus on London as we are going to grow it into 120,000 citizens. But it's still lacking a little bit, still lacking on the lumber, and this liquor that we're going to deliver to it. Liquor is sort of hard to be coming by, but it's now requiring more and more of these advanced resources that we could spend money on buying factories, but still there are a lot of need to just expand our rails. We see that the rails are the most are the bottleneck, that we are not able to deliver all the lumber here. Lots of lumber being stored down here at the lumber mill, Turner Clearing, and even though we are connected, there aren't enough trains. So rather focus on having more trains, more tracks, than having than building these factories. Even though factories are really nice, and that we are going to deliver 4 loads of liquor to London, so then that's a mission objective. So then at least we have to buy the distillery, and exactly where to put that distillery has to be close to both both fruit and sugar. Could perhaps build it up here in Cambridge, but then I see that there is extra room for it now here in York. So then I think I'm gonna place it here, perhaps, and then rather build an extra line from the fruit here at Jones. Perhaps even buy up this. Yes, we can afford that. Pump it up a bit as we have money for it. And then build a special line here. Might have to make some adjustments and buy up at least this private route and such. There will be quite a bit of requirements in order to have this distillery, and it will cost us a lot of money that could be spent on other things, on expanding our capacity. This little route, not so little anymore, Oxford, Bristol, going down to Plymouth, which delivers the corn and the cloth, taking care of this eastern southeastern parts of England. A general look at how the flow goods are working now. Separating this corn now only serving the southeastern part, and this corn serving the Midlands, south eastern part. This one serving the southwestern parts of England, and this resource up here serving only North England. We looked at lumber serving pretty much everything from that single resource. Here, lots of meat around England, so that going in directions, but no longer any meat being exchanged here. You see, one has this double warehouse setup. Wouldn't be quite needed just yet to separate this. There are still room. No, there aren't room anymore. I have three double lanes here and then one single line here, so then I need an extra station, and this also makes for preparation into building a zone here in Wales that will include Bristol, Birmingham, and Oxford as well. Beer, no beer here in the western parts, so then beer will have to be transported to a double warehouse in Oxford. Carlisle being taken care of from York. Sugar, one sugar resource up here, pretty much the same as it used to be, and sugar also having been transported, redistributed from Campbell onto Bristol and Plymouth. All the sugar now belonging to the Midland sector that we started out with, and then can be transported both north and southwest. With the cloth, seeing that this is coming on nicely. Milk, only one milk resource on the entire map. See how that works out. Going in all directions from there. Way too little milk, but and then we could bump it up, but there are other things that we could prioritize instead. This bigger, no, it's not bigger, but it's still distributing to all of the southern and middle parts of England, while this up here that we were required to achieve our mission objectives now only serve the northern parts, but so that we are absolutely certain that we will have enough vegetables for York, being connected to a warehouse here at Armstrong, so that only this little line here, this little Derwent, that goes back and forth from Annile to Armstrong, and then delivering the vegetables here to be picked up by the trains that are going in this half moon around northern England. And so now, 18 months into the game, Mania are rolling in pretty nicely. And have a quick look at the mission objectives. We haven't really come on so much further. Almost about to deliver the liquor to London. Built up this liquor factory here, having a specially dedicated line coming from Jones, make sure that it has the fruit that is needed. Sugar often not being that big of a problem, but fruit can be a bit of a challenge. But now this liquor factory is running really nicely. We can put up a special delivery line like this from York into London, if one is uncertain that it will actually be able to deliver. So with this, often I will do it like this, and then have the minimum amount here. Now this wasn't really needed. Now we took care of the needs simply from our say normal lines. as it goes from here, and then there is no demand in Cambridge to be fulfilled, and then it went down to London, sort of, by itself, by the system as it was. Haven't been changing everything now into the 4-lane tracks, and then added Le Continent, which now has both of these special wagons, the dining and the mail car, which makes us a lot of money. And now we have been separating the passenger traffic and then freight traffic, even though the game mechanics is so that it prioritizes freight if you put up a mixed train, and then if I put this up on freight, it might not be entirely full because we would be disallowing for express goods. So then, and express goods being the most profitable, it might be better to have it on automatic, and then it will still prioritize freight and then pick up passengers and mail bags if it is actually needed. But sometimes there might be so much traffic that one needs to have dedicated freight lines in order to be absolutely certain that it picks up the freight. But that will be more of that later on. Looking at mission objectives, we're now going to have our last set. Going to connect all the cities on the map. We are now allowed to buy up Wales as soon as we have money for it, and then connecting these two cities, buying this little route here, and then achieve everything that we set out to do. And then by February, a little bit more than 2 years of gameplay, we have built this sort of awkward zone around here with Holyhead. It is a circular path going from Liverpool down to Birmingham, Oxford, Bristol, Swansea, and then back to Holyhead again. It would be better, I think, to build a proper circle coming up here. But then I wanted to wait a little bit so that I can buy this as the last thing that I did, in order to show how the mission would be accomplished. But we can see now that we have more than increased our company value to 30 millions. We have lots of big cities with more than 100,000 citizens, and London has been properly grown into becoming a proper capital. So some of these freight lines now are becoming quite busy. So then I expanded those also into becoming 2-lane tracks. Like here, there are actually 4 lanes, only with this one going from London to Dover. Expanded this one into going all the way down here. It might be a little bit too much, I think, but still there is so much demand for this sugar and milk that and to be having it picked up now, and I bought this and bumped it up. So then all of these trains are now pretty much filled with a mixed line going in this half moon down here, and also from this, now having 8 of these good freight trains, but still having pretty much to do. Later in this game, the money is rolling in so well that one can sort of expand and make sure that everything is growing, since that was our mission objective, to be growing everything, and we can certainly buy up everything at the auction and really, be lucrative. The half moon up here in northern England, I really dig on this circles, making it easier going back and forth, round and around. Warehouses are easier to set up. So now Liverpool actually has 3 stations. One belonging to the Wales zone here, one belonging to the original Midlands zone, and then a new one now belonging to the Northern England zone. Only a double set of lines, and they're becoming quite full. But this being nicer and neater in many ways, and also increasing for the traffic here between York, Manchester, and Liverpool. So, and then as we built this Wales zone, there wouldn't be any need more for having an extra, after having this long line, and I don't really dig on the long lines so much. There seem to be some problems arising for it, rather to keep it small and compact using circles or shorter lines. So this is also filling up very nicely. Both of these, double line here, and then to have this when we have competitors in the middle, and we're not allowed to buy this at this chapter, to buy them up and remove them, to have one station on each side of the competitor, so we don't need to circumvent his station. I can have really smooth, nice tracks like this, and then rather having a warehouse here. So let's say the corn, for example, from Plymouth is now coming to this west station, and being magically or by cars or horse and wagon being transported this extra distance for no extra cost over to the next station. Having a quick look at the flow of goods before we end this tutorial. You can see now how there's a lot of wheat here in the middle zones being transported into to Wales, and corn being transported, having one here in the west and one here down the south. This is southern being the biggest one, 11 wagons a week. Also here 11 wagons a week actually. No need for a warehouse here, that will interflict with this zone, both zones having their own corn resource. But this corn here, not only serving Plymouth and Bristol, but also serving Wales. Now finally we have a lot of lumber, all the lumber being produced in this Wales zone. So then we can, this seems like a horrible crisscrossing mess, but actually it isn't, because all of the lumber is on this zone, and then there will be no interflicting between zones, and that's the important thing. So we can put up warehouses everywhere, and then having it transported into the northern parts, central parts, down all the way down here south, and then to the west. Meat, only need for a meat warehouse down here and Dover, because all of the other zones are having their own wheat production. Beer, there's little beer here in Wales, but one can bump it through the warehouses here. Now Wales is actually producing wheat in Holyhead, and so now this might become a problem later on, as the demand is being filled up on both sides, and how now to bring beer to Plymouth through these warehouses, because we can see that the London brewery are supplying the Holyhead, supplying the Wales zone, simultaneously as Holyhead is also being inside the Wales zone, and that might create for this crisscrossing tendency here. How does it? Let's have a look. No, there are no beer here, so then it doesn't interflect with sugar. Nicely distributed. London sugar here. Milk is only one milk. As long as there's only one resource, there is no problem. One can pretty much put up warehouses everywhere. Vegetables being supplied here. Now this vegetable resource is really bumped up, so it can supply all of the southern and middle parts, not coming all the way here to west to Plymouth, but still supplying is pretty much filled up all over. Fruit, the single resource down here, supplying pretty much everything. This warehouse is being filled up, so then one has to prioritize, and this is one of the problems with these two small zones, that if they're only connected through one warehouse, then there isn't room in that warehouse for everything, only 6 resources, so Plymouth would never grow to become really big unless we include it with another station as well to build the 2 warehouses, say with the one in Bristol and one in Oxford, or perhaps even in Swansea. We can have an extra connection here to bring in more different resources. What of the salt there? Salt is always one of the things that come in much demand later on. Only one salt source on the map, and even now that we have bumped this up to level 5, it is only barely being able to supply all over Empire like this. Not all the way here actually, because the salt, there isn't enough salt for everyone, so then we can keep it for the bigger cities only, in order to make them grow as fast as possible. Well, I guess that pretty much sums it up. One can only go in here, and then as we buy this, we have completed. See how we fared. Not too bad. 2.3 years, chief executive. There are certainly people doing this better than us, but this isn't too bad of a score, I think. So then I guess that sums it up, and we can feel free to like and subscribe, leave some comments, and then I hope to see you next time around, and goodbye.